Welcome to another edition of Wardy's Screencast. Today we're going to look at plot a little bit more in depth and really keeping in mind that characters and the way they interact impact the plot and the way it's going impacts characters, who they are, and how they interact. So today we are learning that character interactions and plot are connected. Why? So we can analyze how character interactions impact the way not only the story develops, but also the theme. So if you've done Sheboygan Day, we will be going into theme. All right, you'll know you've got it when you can. Explain all 5 parts of the plot. I think we're good at identifying them. Let's see if we're going to get into more explaining what they are, how they impact each other. Complete a plot chart organizer when analyzing the plot of the video. We'll do that in class together. Analyze Sheboygan Day with the plot chart organizer. So we'll take it from a little Pixar short to the story Sheboygan Day. And then identify some character interactions that move the plot forward and impact the theme that will likely carry into the next day as we work toward our first open-ended question. All right, let's get into it. Let's do it. So plot. You should have some guided notes and be using those as we complete this video. Alright, so plot. Very basic definition. The sequence of events in a story. I'm going to want to fill in the blanks where we have them underlined throughout this video on your guided notes. So sequence events you should be filling in. And really, if you look at it, the 5 parts we're going to break down in a minute. But beginning, middle, end of the story, exposition, conflict, which really is going to be the inciting incident. Rising action, climax, falling action, and the resolution. Let's get into it. Let's do it. So we know there are 5 parts. We're going to add a little tiny thing to this. So we have the exposition. And you're going to see these fly on the screen in the order that they go in our plot chart and in the spot they go. An inciting incident we're going to get into in a minute. The rising action, climax, that turning point. Then we have the falling action. So you can kind of see it's creating that little triangle that we use, and then finally resolution. So what are each of these parts? I'm glad you asked. All right. So the exposition, I'm going to define all these in a minute. But if you look at this, one thing I want to point out, the inciting incident. So we kind of learned a little background. This is going to be, and I'll give you the definition right down in a minute, the conflict first gets introduced to the reader. It's that event that starts the character on their journey. Without this, we have no real basis of a story. Then the rising action, the tension is going to be increasing until ultimately we get to the highest point of the story, the most intense point. Then you kind of see the climax going to explode. I put that in red with the inciting incident. And that's where we have our really deep-seated conflict. Rising action and falling action. Put in yellow, the tension's kind of there increasing. Here it's decreasing. And then resolution, everything's resolved in the end. So what do each of these mean? All right, the exposition. So we're going to start filling in your guided notes again. Also called the introduction. Readers learn important background information about characters and setting. You're going to know where the story is taking place, an idea of when it's taking place. Characters are going to meet each other. We're going to learn a little about the characters. That's our exposition. Then our inciting incident is right after the exposition. And what you're going to have is the first event that sets the characters on the journey. We introduce the conflict. All right, then we get rising and falling action. Rising action, the conflict and tension increase until we get to that explosion of the climax of the story, which we will get to on the next slide. All right. You're now going to fill in falling action, which is the tension decreases. The conflict is getting resolved after the climax of the story. Climax, the turning point. This is where that conflict and tension has been rising. Boom. It's exploded. All heck breaks loose. Now, there's an important part to this. This event, whatever happens in the climax, leads to the resolution and really our theme and life lesson being learned. If we have a different decision, it's really a climax, like the decision's made. If we have a different decision, a different event, the outcome of the story is different. So you have to ask, what led to the resolution? That will help us determine the theme later, because whatever this is going to lead to a life lesson being learned. Resolution, we have simply the outcome events, conflict fully resolved, readers will learn a lesson, our story is over. Now, when we fill in the plot chart, you could go in order. I have some tips, and you're going to see these on the bottom of your guided notes. Nothing really to fill in on your notes, but let me explain the thought process here. Always want to start with my exposition. Who are my characters? Then I'm going to do that inciting incident. What's the first sign of conflict? Now, instead of doing the rising and falling action, because sometimes people start filling in the rising action like, well, where does it end? What is the rising action? Like, how many events are there? I tend to want to do the climax first. So I go exposition, inciting incident, then the climax. What is that event where the conflict and tension explodes that leads to a resolution? What leads to the resolution? Then I do the resolution. What is our outcome? What is our life lesson? The reason for that is now everything between the inciting incident and the climax is rising action. Everything from the climax to the resolution is falling action. Keep in mind too, climax is about usually 2/3 of the way through the story. It's not right in the middle. So you're going to have probably more rising action events than falling action. That's normal. Sometimes when this happens too, it might be 3/4 of the way through. We feel like the ending is rushed. So just keep that in mind. The climax is not right in the middle. It's usually 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the story. All right, so you should now be able to explain all 5 parts of the plot, and we are going to work on completing a plot organizer together. And with that, our Morty screencast of plot has come to a conclusion, and Morty is out of here.